And away we go, episode 1263 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, and the University of Maryland, like the Washington Commanders, is making a change at offensive coordinator off a disappointing season. Reports on Tuesday afternoon that Maryland is hiring Clint Trickett as offensive coordinator. He just this past December was hired by the University of Arkansas as quarterbacks coach, spent the 2025 season as Jacksonville State offensive coordinator, and so Pep Hamilton is done after just one season as Maryland offensive coordinator. Pep Hamilton, he was the Los Angeles Chargers quarterbacks coach for the 2020 season, which was Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert's great rookie season. Hamilton was the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator January 2013 to November 2015, working with Andrew Luck during his time as the Colts QB1. And Hamilton has major local ties. He was a quarterback at Howard University for the 1993 through 1996 seasons, and he was the head coach and general manager for the XFL's DC Defenders for the 2020 season. But Hamilton is out as Maryland OC, though he reportedly is staying with Maryland in a modified role. His official title at Maryland has been offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. But Maryland head coach Mike Locksley, like Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, would appear to be going into a make-or-break season. And so a change at offensive coordinator is being made. Maryland for the 2025 season was number 93 out of 136 FBS teams in offensive efficiency per ESPN. And the Terrapins' rushing offense in particular was really bad. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, a special treat, a conversation with former Washington Redskins general manager Charley Casserly, whose time with the team went from June 1977 to July 1999. A lot happened during his time with the team. He was the Skins GM from June 1989 until July 1999. And we, with Charley, are going to get some tremendous insight and reflection. You will hear Charley on the three recently deceased former Redskins players in Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Sonny Jurgensen, cornerback Barry Wilburn, and guard Tre Johnson. The greatness of Richie Petitbon in running Skins defenses during the team's glory days, the process by which Charley, as Skins assistant GM, put together a replacement player roster that went 3-0 during the 1987 NFL regular season that featured a strike, why Charley believes that the Skins in the 2000s could have had another run of sustained success had he not been fired by owner Dan Snyder in July 1999, the story of Snyder apologizing to Charley for firing him, and more. Charley Casserly, next segment. And also on the show, I'll talk college basketball. We on Tuesday night had a loss for Virginia Tech, but another win for VCU. Virginia Tech lost for the fourth time in 5 games, a 67-66 loss at Miami, but VCU won its 10th consecutive game, an 89-75 win over George Washington at the Stuart C. Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Jason Chestnut Jr. on a 2025 NFL season that was not kind to the Commanders being over, and on the team on January 10th, having promoted assistant quarterbacks coach David Blau to offensive coordinator. Writes Jason, what's up, Galdi? I started writing this email right after the Super Bowl. Was very disappointed in the game, even though good defense was being played. But the point of this email is to celebrate, yes, celebrate the fact that this nightmare season is finally officially over. It has been a long road, but never have I ever, in all my years of Redskins / Washington football team / Commanders fandom, been more happy and relieved for a season to be over. This was an old and decrepit roster. The injury luck was absolutely unbelievable, and I don't think I've seen a worse defense. You would have thought it was Jack Del Rio and Scott Turner calling plays again. Super conservative on defense and everything but the right play calling on offense. That leads me to the new coaching staff. At first, I was absolutely livid and thought that the offense would be cooked again next season off the Blau hire, as we had the obvious favorite in Mike McDaniel free. I thought that if he were to go somewhere and get a head coaching job, it wouldn't be bad not landing him here in Washington versus if he ended up landing an offensive coordinator job. So I was mad when he landed with the Chargers, but at least we won't have to worry about him and Justin Herbert as they are on the other side of the league. I'm sure they are going to be great. But as time went on, after some talks with my dad, Jason Sr., realized this hire of Blau might be the way to go. We have a history of young, great football minds walking out of here into other places and having success. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Mike McDaniel come to mind right away. Could David Blau be another great young mind? If he is, we'd be more likely to retain him for longer than McDaniel, because one good season here would mean that McDaniel is back with a head coaching job somewhere else. I also have heard a lot of good things from Blau, including a clip of Blau saying he wants to feed Terry. Galdi, you know how I feel about Terry, my favorite NFL player and favorite player in franchise history. So because Blau said what he said about getting Terry 10 targets a game, I'm already sold, LOL. Thank you for the email, Jason. We on February 10th had the introductory press conference for David Blau as Commanders' offensive coordinator. He, on that day, also did a number of interviews, including a conversation with John Duran of WUSA 9. We, during that conversation, had this exchange.
How important a wide receiver is going to be to the success of your offense?
Incredibly, man. Like, these guys, whether they're sparking a long run in the running game with blocking on the perimeter or creating explosive passes, like, this thing's going to be built around how do we get Terry 10 targets a game and get him, explosive receptions after explosive receptions to kind of flip the field. And Jalen Lane and Luke and Jacory and Jacoby and Nick, the guys that we have under contract right now, like, how can we develop them and grow them into roles that are just key contributors when their number's called on Sunday.
Okay, so David Blau on the Commanders' number one receiver, Terry McLaurin, in the offense. Quote, the thing's going to be built around how do we get Terry 10 targets a game and get him explosive reception after explosive reception, end quote. The conversation about targets for Terry McLaurin has been going on for years now. Why doesn't he get targeted a ton the way that so many other number one receivers in the NFL get targeted a ton? And what has never been clear is how much of him not being targeted more has been on Washington offensive coordinators and Washington quarterbacks versus how much of him not being targeted more has been on McLaurin. Like, as much as we love him, maybe he just isn't a receiver who generates double-digit targets per game. Keep in mind that he for years has rated poorly in the NFL's next-gen stats' average separation metric, which is the distance measured between a target and the nearest defender at the time of a catch or incompletion. And when I say that McLaurin has rated poorly in this metric, I mean really poorly. McLaurin for the 2025 regular season had an average separation of just 2.4. Not good. Now, there are other quality receivers who rate poorly in average separation. Dallas Cowboys receiver George Pickens, he for the 2025 regular season had an average separation of just 2.3. Indianapolis Colts receiver Alec Pierce, he for the 2025 regular season had an average separation of just 2.1. Cincinnati Bengals receiver T. Higgins, he for the 2025 regular season had an average separation of just 1.8. So separation clearly isn't everything, but we've been having the why doesn't Terry get targeted more conversation for a long time now, and maybe that just isn't who he is. That said, it would be awesome if he got double-digit targets per game with David Blau as offensive coordinator. But Terry McLaurin in his NFL regular season career has 786 targets over 107 games. That works out to 7.35 targets per game. The franchise record for targets in a regular season is 181 for receiver Pierre Garçon in the 2013 regular season. How about this? Terry McLaurin's highest placement in the ranking of most targets for a Washington player in a regular season is just 17th. His 134 targets over 15 games in the 2020 regular season. The top 16, and all of these guys were receivers. Number 1, Pierre Garçon in 2013. Number 2, Lavernius Coles in 2004. Number 3, Lavernius Coles in 2003. Number 4, Art Monk in 1984. Number 5, Art Monk in 1985. Number 6, Henry Ellard in 1994. Number 7, Gary Clark in 1989. Number 8, Art Monk in 1986. Number 9, Santana Moss in 2010. Number 10, Gary Clark in 1986. Number 11, Gary Clark in 1990. Number 12, Rod Gardner in 2002. Number 13, Ricky Sanders in 1989. Number 14, Santana Moss in 2008. Number 15, Art Monk in 1989. Number 16, Gary Clark in 1985. And then finally, we see Terry McLaurin at number 17 in 2020. Well, like a well-built team, a well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather shifts. Quince has the everyday essentials that I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons. The list goes on. Also, Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing. Everything is built to hold up to daily wear and still look good season after season. And Quince only partners with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. I have a Quince blue wool pullover. Looks good, keeps me warm, is durable. It's tremendous. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Hey, for all of you parents out there with teenagers, we know that you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Well, Cash App is here to help make sure that your teen's money and spending aren't adding to the craziness. Cash App is designed to meet teens aged 13 to 17 where they are with intuitive and educational tools. Available through sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, teens gain access to a personalized Cash App card that comes in different colors and patterns to fit the teen style, and the ability to instantly access money from family and friends. Cash App makes managing money feel easier and honestly just cooler than other options out there. Cash App also has tools that can help teens develop real-world financial habits in a space that's safe and easy to navigate, all with your oversight and approval. If your teen is getting a first job, Cash App can get your teen access to paychecks up to 2 days early and can help achieve personalized savings goals, all within the app. With Cash App, these tools become something your teen will actually want to use because they were designed with your teen in mind. Also, no one wants unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirements, and no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock the card right from your phone in just one tap. Skip the stress and give your teen a way to learn financial responsibility with no hidden fees. Download Cash App and get started today, and for a limited time, a new Cash App customer can earn $10. Just use the code FAMILY10 in your profile at sign-up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Hey, if you're listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them. Next week is NFL Scouting Combine Week. We, on February 23rd through March 2nd, have the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine, which will take place at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. So a lot of Washington Commanders NFL draft talk is on the way, but We in recent days have had some sad news. 3 notable deaths of former Washington Redskins players, a legendary former Washington Redskins quarterback and legendary former Washington Redskins radio analyst Sonny Jurgensen. He on February 6th died at the age of 91. Former Washington Redskins cornerback Barry Wilburn, he on February 6th died in a house fire in Tennessee. He was just 62. And former Washington Redskins guard Tre Johnson, he this past Sunday, February 15th, died at the age of just 54. For perspective on Sonny Jurgensen, Barry Wilburn, and Tre Johnson, and for some story time, it is a pleasure to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast former Washington Redskins general manager Charley Casserly. Charley started with the Skins in June 1977 as an intern for then Skins head coach and general manager George Allen. Charley worked in the Skins scouting department from June 1977 to August 1982. He was the Skins assistant general manager from August 1982 to June 1989. He was the Skins general manager from June 1989 until July 1999. He was the Houston Texans general manager from January 2000 through May 2006. He now works as a consultant for the NFL. Hey, Charley, how are you?
We're doing good there. We won a Super Bowl along the way now, so let's not forget that, okay?
Yes, you did. Well, you won 3 Super Bowls. So 1 as Redskins general manager and 2 as Skins assistant general manager. Sonny Jurgensen was a quarterback for the Skins for the 1964 through 1974 seasons. You came to the Skins after Sonny's playing career, but were with the Skins during his peak years as a radio analyst for the team. Sonny served as an analyst for radio broadcasts of Skins games for 38 seasons. 1981 through 2018 was part of the iconic Sonny, Sam, and Frank team with Sam Huff and Frank Herzog, 1981 through 2004. To what extent did you interact with Sonny?
Well, it would be just with the broadcasting part of it, okay, which there was a good amount of interaction with Sonny. He concentrated more, I think, on the coaching part of it, but we did have some interaction for him. Obviously, he had a keen football mind. I think he had a good sense for the quarterback position and the players. So I think that he brought an element of excitement and nostalgia to the radio booth. But we did have a good amount of interactions, and it was all positive. And I thought he had a great football mind. It was interesting. He felt that Vince Lombardi was the best coach he ever played for. He had great respect for Lombardi. He made a comment at one time. He says, he made football the simplest of anybody. And of course, Lombardi made the famous comment about, if I had him, I never would have lost a game in Creek Bay. So, no, he had a great career, lasted a long time. Somebody made a comment, well, he didn't win a championship. Well, give him the defenses that they had with George Allen when he was healthy. They'd have won some championships. So that's an unfair knock on the guy.
Sonny Jurgensen was years ahead of his time, put up monster passing numbers at a time in which the NFL wasn't close to the passing league that it is today. Do you ever think about what Sonny would be like in today's NFL with the current rules and offensive philosophies?
Oh, my gosh. 4,000 yards would be the low point for him every year. No question about that. When they changed the years ago, they did this a long time ago now with the how the corners could play. But, the game has opened up. You see, more spread formations, the shotgun, everybody's running it. And so I think that people say the rules changed. The rules changed a long time ago in reality, but he never had a chance to play with them. But you're right. I mean, he was probably the best natural passer I ever saw. And again, I'm watching him on television, okay, because I never really saw him play in any games. But that's the thing about him. So.
Barry Wilburn, he played for the Redskins for the 1985 through 1989 seasons, was a key member of the Skins' 1987 Super Bowl championship team. He, for the 1987 regular season, was number 1 in the NFL in interceptions with 9. And then he and the Skins, going 3-0 that postseason, had 3 more interceptions, including 2 in the 42-10 win over the Denver Broncos at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego in Super Bowl 22, January 31st, 1988. The Skins took Wilburn in the 8th round of the 1985 NFL draft out of Ole Miss. What are your memories of Barry Wilburn?
Well, he was a big, tall corner, and which was something that we didn't have a lot of tall corners, during the Joe Gibbs era. You go back, in the George Allen area, had Lavender was a tall corner, but so he was a little bit different than our other corners. This guy, he was a big, tall corner, long arms, press guy. That was probably the best thing he could do. But he hit a stretch where he had 14 interceptions in one season. I don't know how many people ever had 14 interceptions. Now, of course, that's counting the playoffs now. In the Super Bowl, he had 2 interceptions. He had one against the Bears. I wrote this down here. In 25 games, the guy had 16 interceptions. Okay, that's regular season games. That's not counting the playoffs. So he just got on a point there. He just had a great knack for the ball and great hands, and he just had a stretch there where the guy was phenomenal. But I think it was his size, his athletic ability, his hands, and he had a knack for getting the ball. Some guys can play the ball, and some guys can't play the ball. He could play the ball. So
it's crazy when you look at Barry Wilburn with the Redskins, 19 interceptions in 62 regular season games, 5 interceptions in 8 postseason games. Was him getting all of those picks a function of teams not wanting to throw at the Skins' then number 1 cornerback, Pro Football Hall of Famer Darrell Green, and thus throwing at Wilburn? Or was there more to the picks than just that?
Well, they obviously stayed away from Darrell. Okay. But on the other hand, we had a lot of the corners that they threw at too. Nobody had that many interceptions. So it was he just had a stretch where he couldn't do anything wrong almost with the interceptions. Now, on the other hand, he got the first play of the Super Bowl, he got beat for a touchdown. Okay, but he came back with 2 interceptions in the game. So if you're going to get thrown at, you are going to give up some big plays. But you're right. He was going to get more opportunities, but he took advantage of those opportunities. And he had a stretch unlike any other stretch any corner ever had with us, and maybe any corner had in the NFL history when you think about it.
The 1987 Super Bowl champion Redskins offense is remembered well, and rightfully so, given the 35-point second quarter in Super Bowl 22. But how about the 87 Skins defense? The Skins, in going 3-0 that postseason, allowed a total of just 37 points.
Well, in the postseason, of course, you had Darrell on one side. You had a Pro Bowl corner there. We had, a great front up front where we could put pressure on the quarterbacks. And it was an overall a good defense. Our defense never had a lot of great stars to it. They played great as a unit, and that was a credit to the coaching staff. It really was. So, and of course, we had, Dexter flying around in his prime at that point in time. And so, right off the bat, you had a double Dexter, which opened up other opportunities for the rest of the defense.
The Commanders on January 30th announced having hired Minnesota Vikings defensive passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach Durante Jones as defensive coordinator. Hopefully he does well, but the truth is that Washington has struggled big time at defensive coordinator since the days of Richie Petitbon, who ran Redskins defenses over the 1981 through 1992 seasons. He was the Skins defensive secondary coach for the 1978 through 1980 seasons. He was the Skins defensive coordinator for the 1981 and 1982 seasons. He was the Skins assistant head coach / defense for the 1983 through 1992 seasons. And then he was the Skins head coach for the 1993 season. But he is the greatest defensive coach in franchise history with what he did in running Skins defenses over the 1981 through 1992 seasons. What made Richie Petitbon so good?
Joe Gibbs, there's a couple of things I would say. Joe Gibbs always said that Richie had a great knack to call the game. And he said that was a gift. And it's like, a play caller on offense. You see some of the, like a Ben Johnson with Detroit nowadays. I mean, the guy's brilliant. Okay. Richie had that knack to make the call. Now, there was a great staff. When they started, you had Torgy Torgerson, who had been with us during the George Allen era. And he had been a core defensive coordinator. Larry Peccatello came from Seattle. He was their defensive coordinator. And then you had Richie Petitbon, who had been a defensive coordinator, obviously. And eventually we added Emmett Thomas, who would become a defensive coordinator. So that was an all-star staff. And, Peck, I think, really stood out. It was kind of an unsung hero in that part of it for them. But he deserves all the recognition he got. And if you think about it, even with that strike team, the defense was phenomenal in those games. Okay. And he was phenomenal in the '91 season too. So the defense probably was underappreciated in the greatness of those teams. But Richie was a crucial part of it, and I can't emphasize the quality of the staff. I mean, that was an all-star staff, and Peck had a lot to do with the success too.
Something else with the 1987 Super Bowl champion Redskins was the team going 3-0 with replacement players during the '87 NFL player strike. And it is widely known that you, as Skins' assistant general manager at the time, were vital in putting together that roster of replacement players who famously won at the Dallas Cowboys 13-7 on Monday Night Football on October 19th, 1987, despite the Cowboys having a number of their regular players. What were the keys to you putting together a replacement player roster that went 3-0 during the 1987 NFL regular season plagued by a strike?
Well, from a big picture strategy point of view, okay, there was a couple of things. One, and I had nothing to do with this, Joe Gibbs told the players, stay out or come in as a team. Ultimately, that was huge in talking to the strike players about giving them a chance to become a team. We put them in a hotel for their safety's sake, but they bonded as a team in the hotel, and that brought them together. So that was a big reason they won. Okay, so that's it. From a football point of view, there were a couple of things I thought were important. Numbers. You've got to get numbers. Okay, how are you going to practice? There was only 3 teams that had 50 players on the first day of practice. We were one of them, and that was it. So Al, you started off trying to get, quote, the best of the rest. After a while, Al, you were just hoping to get people that would say yes and came in. So that was, but we had numbers. You could practice now. That was huge. The other thing is offensively, you had to play in a week. So try to get as many guys that knew the Gibbs system. And Dan Henning was a big help there because, Dan was in Atlanta and he funneled some players to us that played in the system. Okay. And we signed some players right at the end of camp. 3 were offensive linemen. One, Derek Brills, he played 11 years in the league. Now, of course, we signed him as a college free agent. We didn't know he was going to play 11 years. And he's the guy who pancaked Randy White during the game. So there was a couple things. Gibbs set the tone of nobody was crossing the line. So then the team put him in a hotel to lock him down. And that built them together as a unit, okay? And then as many guys on offense as we could get that knew the system, we could function from day one on offense. Okay. And, the Gibbs is one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coaches of all time. They always talk about these guys, but we all know he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 quarterbacks who had great years, but they went to the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure anybody did that outside of Hallis and Lambeau. So then, we had great help with, the scouting staff, Kirk Meade, especially Kirk Meade, Billy Devaney, they jumped in. Bobby was tied up with the strike part of it. Certainly he signed some players too, but he had to spend most of his time with the strike thing. So I think it was a combination of numbers, guys that knew the system. We were relentless. We never stopped. I mean, I signed Anthony Allen, in the Atlanta airport, in between flights. Was that when I signed Teddy Wilson at midnight and called Gibbs, got him out of a meeting. We got Teddy Wilson. We needed somebody that could run. Dan Henning was the guy who connected us with the halfway house players, Tony Robinson and Joe Kofer. And to contrast that, Parcells refused to coach and Buddy Ryan sat on the bench, reading Football for Dummies. When you talk to the players, and I interviewed a lot of them before the 87 ring ceremony, the thing that rings out, bad play on words, I know, was Gibbs. They had so much respect for Joe Gibbs before they came in, and that he told them, you're the team we're going to play with, because he had to say that. Nobody else was there. And they saw a guy who gave him a great coaching opportunity. All the coaches coached him like they were pro players. And then his first speech, he told them, hey, you're the team we're going to play with. Okay, that really gave them confidence. This is what the players told me. And then he gave a great speech before the game in Dallas, telling them that, again, nobody thought we were going to win. They had no chance, okay? A lot of us didn't think we could win. But the players actually thought they could. He made them believe it. and he told him, he says, isn't this what you came back for? You wanted to prove you could play in the National Football League. What better stage? It's Monday Night Football. We're in Dallas. We're playing our arch rival, the Dallas Cowboys. Isn't this what you wanted a chance to prove? And the players believed that. And then aside from that, he told them this in another meeting. He said, no, this is one I don't think anybody ever heard, but it's a true story. He put up our record, our history, coaching record under him in the first part of the season. Okay. And then he put it over the second part of the season. We were a better second half team. He said, men, he says, we're playing for first place. If we're in first place at this point, our history shows we go to the Super Bowl and win it. If we win the Super Bowl, you get $35,000. They never even knew that. So you could see the eyes light up there. So it's a combination of a lot of things. It wasn't just me. It's a great coaching staff, a scouting staff. Bobby did his role. And it's one of the greatest victories in the history of the franchise in reality.
Absolutely. Hey, a movie was made about the team, The Replacements, which came out in 2000, starred Keanu Reeves. When a movie is made about a team, you know that it did something special. Much more with Charley Casserly in moments. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It will fight for you and win for you. Lead attorney Chris Nace is a big Commanders fan and a big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. Just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. We always hope that everything is going well for you, but if you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. We're talking with former Washington Redskins general manager Charley Casserly. Tre Johnson, you as Skins GM, took him with the number 31 overall pick in the 1994 NFL Draft. The second pick of the second round in the 1994 NFL Draft. You took Johnson out of Temple. He played for the Skins for the 1994 through 2000 seasons, and then again in the 2002 season. He spent 7 of his 8 NFL seasons with the Skins, played for the Cleveland Browns in the 2001 season. Did deal with injuries for a good chunk of his NFL career, but had a tremendous 1999 season. Johnson, for the 1999 Skins, started all 16 of the team's regular season games, started both of the team's postseason games, made the Associated Press All-Pro second team for his work in the 1999 regular season, and made the Pro Bowl for his work in the 1999 regular season, in which the Skins went 10-6 and won the NFC East. What do you remember thinking about Johnson when you drafted him?
Oh, he was a prototype Washington offensive hog lineman. The guy was big, explosive, could knock you off the ball. And you look at when he was in the lineup, the running attack was always better with him in the lineup. Okay. The other thing I remember about the guys, he makes the All Madden team, and you got to see this guy. This guy's an All Madden guy, right? You could see Madden talking about him. He's got the belly and he's got the slobber to him and he's knocking people off the ball. You know how Madden would talk about these things, okay? He'd go on and on. But he was a Pro Bowl in 99. I think he was an alternate another year, All Madden another year. Big, strong, physical guy. Could have played with the Hogs. He looked like him. What you look for in the Hogs was people that could knock people off the ball, and that's what he could do. So he had really a terrific career. We went through the rebuilding period after, we won the Super Bowl. The cap came in. We had to tear the team apart. We were in a horrible cap shape. And, he got to be able to play with some good teams and some winning teams towards the end of his career. So, the tragic deaths to Barry and Tre, and of course, Sonny lived a long time, so, he could celebrate life.
The 1999 NFC East champion Redskins team that you put together, such a unique situation. You put together the team during an offseason in which the team was sold May 25th, 1999 was when NFL owners voted unanimously to approve the sale of the Skins to a group led by 34-year-old Daniel M. Snyder. The approval came more than 2 years after longtime Skins owner Jack Ken Cook had died at the age of 84, ended a 9-month sale process that began with a blind auction. That was some saga. But anyway, you put together the 99 NFC East champion Skins during an offseason in which the team was sold, and then Dan Snyder fired you that July. What do you remember thinking about that team? Because it remains one of the best offensive teams for the franchise since the glory days of the 1982 through 1992 seasons.
Well, we started turning it around 2 years before that. We went 9-7 and missed the playoffs on a tiebreaker. Then we go 8-7-1. We played for the division championship in December, got beat by the Giants, and then got eliminated in the last day of the season. We go to the season before that, before 99, 98, we 0-7. We can't do anything right, okay? But we finished 6-3. So we kind of thought we were heading in the right direction. The quarterback position was a tough one because we were going through the sale of the team. And Trent Green had a really good season. He threw 25 touchdown passes, but we were incapacitated is probably not the best word, but we couldn't do anything. We couldn't sign any players. Okay, we couldn't spend any money. We had David Akers, a kicker. We couldn't spend $5,000 to sign him because of the sale of the team. So I started working on potential trade. Right for the last game of the year, I went and saw Brad Johnson. Now, he wasn't playing, so I watched him in the warm-ups. Talked to Minnesota about, possibility of making a trade because Trent was going to be a free agent. So kind of started there where, we weren't able to keep Trent, but we were able to get Brad Johnson in a trade. Now, we had an extra number one, so I wasn't worried about giving up the draft picks because I knew we could get some of them back. I didn't know we'd get them back the way we did, but that's it. And then, we had a good off season, and it was a tumultuous one because every day we went to work, we knew they wanted to fire us, but the league prevented them. They tried to fire us all, and the league prevented them. The league said, "You're on the team, you can't fire anybody." So we knew the cliff was, a step away the whole off season. But I told the staff, I says, "We're going to be ready. If they throw us out, this thing's going to be ready. That's it. That's our job." And so I think what happened, it was a culmination of we had a great June. We signed Andy Heck, who started left tackle. We signed Marco Coleman and went to a Pro Bowl the next year, the defensive line. Okay, and we signed Larry Centers, who actually went to a Pro Bowl 2 years later. So we picked up 3 really good starters in June. And that was kind of a strategy with some of those players where we knew we couldn't pay the money they wanted, but we kept in touch with them and kept telling them, you deserve that money, but we don't have the money. So at the end of the time, I think we've got some of those on loyalty in that situation. So we knew we got better there. Okay. We knew that, Stephen Davis, we weren't really sure. Okay. But if you look back on it, we should have been more sure than we were, because in the Giant game we lost for the division title, he averaged, I think, over 5 yards a carry. We didn't give the ball enough. So you could see the parts coming. Okay. So we thought we were going to be okay at running back because I think we still had Skip Hicks and he had a good rookie year there, part of it. Heck really helped us in the offensive line, which had been the left tackle had been an albatross for us. And we thought we were getting better on defense. So I thought we were close. Okay. And obviously, we made the Champ Bailey trade, which put Champ in a corner for us. And all of a sudden we had Green, who is still a top player, and Champ as a rookie, but we now had 2 corners on the outside. So there were a lot of good parts to that team, and it was just a question of time. I think that you're right about it. If the team doesn't kind of get the credit it should, my disappointment is, obviously I was let go at that point, and all of a sudden now we were back with the division champion team, won a playoff game at home. Last time they'd done that is, last time they'd done that. And we had 3 first-round draft choices. And never in the history of the team has a team had 3 first-round draft choices. So now we had ammunition, we had cap room, and we had a good team. So I thought we were going on a run. I really did. And if you look at the playoffs, we beat Detroit, and we're ahead of the Bucks. And then we give up a sack on a bad situation. We got a backup tackle trying to block Simeon Rice. That wasn't the best move. And then you look at them, Tampa Bay. Okay, they almost beat St. Louis. Okay, and then you look at the Rams; they barely beat Tennessee. So I mean, the team was close at that point in time. If you go back, I think we had 9 or 10 players that were either in a Pro Bowl or would go to a Pro Bowl. Okay. And we acquired everyone but Darrell Green. Now, there's a story to Darrell Green. When I took over, the first thing I did was cancel the Darrell Green trade talks, because there was a problem with the contract. There was bad blood, and they wanted to trade Darrell. And I said, we're not trading Darrell. Now, in reality, I don't think Mr. Cook would allow that. Okay. So that was it. But you're right. The 99 team was a very good football team.
It sounds like you think that had Dan Snyder kept you as Redskins general manager, the Skins in the 2000s, off what happened in the 99 season, could have gone on another run of sustained success.
I was convinced we were ready to go, because I think I felt really good about Brad Johnson at quarterback. And not that I would have felt great with Trent Green, but we weren't allowed to sign. We weren't allowed to sign Trent Green, is what it was. So
the story is that Dan Snyder eventually told you that he made a mistake in firing you. Is that story correct?
It's true. When he fired Norv Turner, it may have been the day after he fired Norv Turner. We're still not playing in Houston, and I'm at the owner's house, talking over some different things. And I get a call from Dan Snyder, and I looked at the phone and I said, "It's Dan Snyder." I says, "Well, he says, take the call." So he gets on, and he admitted, he says, "I made a mistake." He says, "Yeah, I should have listened to you. You were the only guy who told me the truth." And I told him, I says, "I'm the only guy telling you the truth here." Okay. So everybody else is telling you what you want to hear. And I learned with Mr. Cook, you've got to tell him the truth, because ultimately you're responsible. He's not going to be responsible. You're responsible. And sometimes, and you knew Mr. Cook. I mean, you could have some tough conversations there with him, but he respected the fact that you told him the truth. And I was the only guy telling Dan Snyder the truth. And he said, "I made a mistake. I should have kept you." And of course, at that point, I'm in Houston, so we're there anyway. But he was man enough to do that, and he actually, I believe, said it publicly. He did tell other people that, because I think when he was interviewing somebody for a coaching job, they said something about it, and then he admitted it to that person. So,
man, hearing Dan Snyder say that to you must have felt so good.
Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do that. Okay. And, I understood what was going on. So, you just, in fact, when I came to the Redskins as an intern, I worked for a guy named Tim Temerario. Tim, had a storied career in football. He gave Woody Hayes his first coaching job. So to put that in historical perspective at age. But he told me, he says, when somebody comes in, the first thing you do is offer your resignation. Because if you do that, then, and he keeps you, you're his hire. Okay. So I did. I told, Dan, it was a phone conversation. I said, "Dan, I'm happy to resign if you want me to resign." And he says, No, I'm going to keep you. I'm going to keep you for a year. Okay. Well, the year was not a year. So that was the thing on that part of it. But anyway.
Man, these are classic stories. I love hearing them. Former Washington Redskins general manager Charley Casserly. Charley, thank you. All the best.
Great to be with you now.
All right, great to hear from Charley Casserly. Hey guys, present the best version of yourself via OneSkin, which is the best product for skincare. OneSkin formulas are powered by the OS1 peptide, a patented peptide built on longevity science proven to target aging at the cellular level. OneSkin supports the cellular repair that keeps your skin looking and feeling better as you get older. This is not about adding extra steps to your routine. No, this is about swapping in smarter ones. Born from over 10 years of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. And for a limited time, OneSkin is making it even easier to stay consistent with up to 30% off your first 3 subscription orders when you use the promo code GALDI at oneskin.co/GALDI. That's oneskin.co/GALDI and use the promo code GALDI. oneskin.co/Galdi, up to 30% off with the promo code Galdi. And after your purchase, you'll be asked where you heard about OneSkin. Please support our show and say that Al Galdi sent you. Hey, enjoy yourself with no worries. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Well, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Make Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the next day. Enjoy drinks with friends. Enjoy drinks while watching the big game, and don't sacrifice your productivity for the next day. Start your night with Z-Biotics pre-alcohol and wake up ready to show up strong at work, clear-headed, focused, and back to business. Go to zbiotics.com/Galdi and you'll get 15% off your first order when you use the promo code Galdi at checkout. Plus, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Also, subscriptions are available for maximum consistency. That's zbiotics.com/Galdi. Use the promo code Galdi at checkout for 15% off.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
And let's talk college basketball. A fourth loss in 5 games for Virginia Tech. The Hokies in the 2025-2026 regular season fell to 17-10 overall, including 6-8 in the ACC, with a 67-66 loss at Miami on Tuesday night. Tech now has just 4 games left in this regular season. The Hokies are running out of time to make their case for making the NCAA tournament, barring a deep run in the ACC tournament. And this loss at Miami was another woulda, coulda, shoulda game for Tech. The Hokies led for 22 minutes, 47 seconds to the game's 40 minutes, but did not make a field goal over the game's final 2 minutes, 34 seconds. Tech got shredded by 6'3" Michigan transfer Tre Johnson. He in 35 minutes, 40 seconds as a starter had 32 points, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists versus 1 turnover. He went 3 for 7 on threes, 10 for 17 on twos, and 3 for 4 on free throws. Scored 24 of his 32 points in the second half. Also, big-time free throw discrepancy in this game. Tech went 2 for 3 on free throws. Yeah, the Hokies generated just 3 free throw attempts the entire game. Miami went 9 for 13 on free throws. And speaking of the free throw discrepancy, Tech's 5'11" Ben Hammond, he in the closing seconds of the game while driving toward the basket, got off a shot that did not drop. Looked like he may have been fouled, but no call was made. However, also on the play was Hammond having 6'5" Jaden Schutt wide open in the right corner, but Hammond did not pass the ball to Schutt. I tell you, Tech does just enough to lose games. Its offense, beyond having just the 3 free throw attempts, was good. The Hokies went 8 for 20 on threes and 20 for 36 on twos and had 20 assists versus 11 turnovers. The Tech was without 6'5" Tyler Johnson for a 14th consecutive game due to a left ankle injury. Next up for Virginia Tech, home to Wake Forest Saturday at noon. Also on Tuesday night was a 10th consecutive win for VCU. The Rams in this regular season improved to 21-6 overall, including 12-2 in the A-10. with an 89-75 win over George Washington at the Stuart C. Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. The Revolutionaries in this regular season fell to 15-12 overall, including 6-8 in the A-10. VCU overcame a 9-point second-half deficit. The Rams in the second half trailed by 9 points at 65-56. They then won the rest of the game 33-10. Big advantage for VCU in terms of free throw attempts. 35 to GW 17, though neither team was great on free throws. So the Rams went 26 for 35. The Revolutionaries 11 for 17. Next up for VCU is a big game at number 18 St. Louis Friday night at 7 in a battle of the top two teams in the A-10. VCU is 12-2 in the A-10. St. Louis is 12-1 in the A-10. Next up for George Washington at LaSalle Tuesday evening at 6:30. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Thursday's show, episode 1264, will provide you with more on the Washington Commanders. Also on Thursday's show, I'll talk college basketball. Maryland is at Northwestern Wednesday night at 8. Georgetown is home to Butler Wednesday evening at 6:30. Number 14 Virginia is at Georgia Tech Wednesday night at 9. George Mason is home to Dayton Wednesday night at 7. And Navy is home to Lehigh Wednesday night at 7. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
This thing's going to be built around how do we get Terry 10 targets a game and get him, explosive receptions after explosive receptions to kind of flip the field. And